What's up everybody, my name is Will from Ghosthack, and today I'm going to be taking you through a melodic dubstep drop and turning it into a full track. So in this video, I'm going to be taking a melodic dubstep drop that I created and went over in a previous video, and I'm going to go over how to do the other elements that you would do for a track, such as the build-up, the intro, the bridge, the outro, things like that, and showing you how to build that off of a track. I've already done videos like this for genres such as rhythm and hybrid trap, and both of those videos turned out, they turned out a little bit darker, meaning that the intro and the build-up and everything else, it was very dark, it was very minor key, and even though this is minor key, it's going to be a little less dark and serious, and this is going to be a little more melodic. We're going to include some more melodic elements in here. So here we go, melodic dubstep from drop to track. Let's hear the drop that we're working with. So that is our drop we have to work with, and I think I'm just going to jump right in and start with the second half of the drop. Actually, I know I said from drop to track, but a lot of drops have kind of an A and a B part to them, and this is something I didn't do too much in the rhythm and hybrid trap videos. I mentioned this in the video, but I didn't really go into it too much, because usually when you have like a rhythm drop or a hybrid trap drop, the second half of the drop will be just sort of a different version where you sort of create a new drop using similar sounds and of a similar style, and you just do different basses. But with melodic dubstep, I tend to go about doing the second half of a drop a little bit differently. There are basically two ways you can go about this. You can have your main drop, which has a mix of melodic chord stacks and instruments as well as basses, and then you can pair it with the second half of a drop that is very bass oriented and bass heavy. It's more just like a normal dubstep drop, and you kind of take away the melodic elements, and then you just go into like a normal dubstep thing. Or you can go full melodic, and you can kind of not have as many bass elements and make the melodic elements a much bigger focus and just focus on those things. You could have leads, you could have vocals over areas like that, and it would just be a big, thick, rich melodic section. And that's what I want to do for this one. And I also have a vocal that I know I want to incorporate into this, which I'll get into that in a minute. But the first thing I want to do is I want to take these chords and I want to make them big and make them last longer, basically, because they're all chopped up. Like there's a bunch of empty spaces between these chords right here that I want to fill out. I want to fill out that space in a different pattern, so we can go ahead and make this unique. And now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to take these big chord stacks and I'm going to just stretch them out so they're all in time. Well, they're already in time. I just need to stretch them out so they're all just in time, not stopping. There'll be no breaks in between these chords. So now we have nice long chords. And I am aware that I only stretched out these chords. I didn't stretch out the other chord layers. Again, if you want to see what it all took to create this drop, then you can go back to the video in which I was explaining to you how I made this drop, and I went over all the elements. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. I'm just going to go right into this process. But I know I only stretched out a couple of these chords, and the other layers aren't stretched out as well. But I kind of want that. I want to leave a little bit of the original dynamic while keeping the chords going and still making it sound full and rich and thick without losing that original dynamic. And I think I can go ahead and duplicate the melodic elements as well, such as this little bell and this lead. I might utilize the lead a little bit more because I quite like it, but the next thing I want to do is I'm going to want to create the drum pattern, which I think it's just going to start out really simple, really basic. I have some kind of fancy kick snare action happening in here, but I think at least for the first half, I want it to just be a really simple, understandable, straight kick and snare pattern. And let me just put the snare on the offbeat. and then we will be all good. And then I can take the side chain and I can put the side chain on all of these hits with the kick and the snare hitting. I really have to put a kick here. I really like hearing the kick here. Yeah. And then maybe in the second half I can go back to the original beat that we started with, where it was this more interesting pattern. Oh, I have to add the little swooshes as well. The swooshes before the snares. Can go here, 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 and here. That sounds good. And now let's duplicate the cymbals and stuff. Let me make sure that the crash cymbals in this first half align with the kicks. I think I'm just going to make them normal. I'm going to make them less strange, and I'm just going to have them hit at an even separation each time. And let's carry over the crowd noise, and we're pretty much set as far as bass line. Oh wait, the ARP as well. But there's something else I want to do, is we still do need bass, even though I'm not going to use the bass loop that we used here, or not the bass loop, the bass pattern that we used here. I still am going to use the chord bass that layers under the chords, and I'm going to create a new bass that's more of like a pluck rhythmical bass to go under all of this, because it still needs filling out. All right, so we have a pattern that has the chord bass and the sub. And now the next thing I have to do is just create a little bass to go in the in-between spots, which I think what I want to do is I just want to clone this chord bass. And I want to create like a plucky version of it. Well, the pluck knob obviously works very well for this. Maybe a little bit of low pass filter action here. Let me edit this articulator. It's kind of a nice pluck. Maybe a little bit of chorus. Some compression. Make it a little thicker. Let's take off the chorus. I just want this to pluck in between the hits. So now this is what this sounds like. And then we have to layer it with the sub. And here's the thing, when doing plucks with the sub bass, I have this sub created specially so it has a little bit of release at the end, so I can make little short stabs like this. And the sub won't, I won't hear any clicking and popping from the sub releasing too early. Yeah, so that kind of fills up that space a little better. It doesn't fill it up the way that like a growl bass would, but it still makes it sound full and rich in the low end without colliding with the chords. And I actually think that I'm going to take out these little melodic elements, because they work really well in the drop, but I want to add either a lead or a vocal in this area. And if I'm going to do that, then I'm really going to need to free up some space. This vocal right here from the Ultimate Vocal Library Volume 3 is one that I particularly would like to use. It just so happens to be in both the tempo and the key of this track. I didn't even mean to do it that way. This track is 150 BPM in D sharp minor, and I found a vocal that perfectly fit that. It was just happenstance that were to happen. So I'm going to take the harmonies, and I'm going to take the main vocal, and the vocal sounds like this.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire. With the love in your eyes, I could see the sunrise coming alive.
And here's the part where the harmonies come in.
Your love is power, it's pulling me under. Wish I could save my breath. I'm underwater, under the water, with fire in my head.
Now, I don't know how well the harmonies are going to work with the chord progression that I have right now, but I am pretty sure the vocals themselves should be totally fine. I want to give them a listen.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire. With the love in your eyes, I can see the sunrise coming alive. Dancing around your face, wish you would dance with me just one last time. Dancing in outer space, like the moon pulls the tide, it pulls the tide. Your love is power, it's pulling me under. Wish I could save my breath. I'm underwater, under the water, with fire in my head.
All right, so there's definitely 100% work that's going to have to be done with the mixing. It's going to be hard to have those vocals still be powerful on top of the chords that I have right here, because the chords are very, very strong, but it works melodically together, and that's the important thing. And because of this, I think I'm actually going to go into pattern 2, and I'm going to take these layers, such as this right here, the white noise, and this, and I'm going to take these out because they definitely add a lot to the chord stacks in the drop. But if I'm going to add other melodic elements, I have to take those out because it's just too much at once. All right, so what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to use this vocal right here.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire.
I'm going to try to utilize it in that area. I don't know if it's going to work. It's going to be very tricky. If it doesn't work, then that's totally fine. I can throw a lead on top of there and I can write a little lead melody to go in this area and that'll work totally fine. But I just want to try this vocal because it would be really cool if it worked. Step 1, a little EQing.
Your love is power.
Cut that low end.
The love in your eyes.
I can take a little bit out of 2K and 3K. Yeah, what the heck, a little out of 5K.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire.
It'll just kind of clear the vocal up a little bit, make it sound like not very nasally. It makes it sound nice and open.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire.
Now what I'm going to do here may seem a little strange, but I'm actually going to add a fruity fast distortion, which is really going to crunch it up.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire.
And I'm just going to mix it in.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire. With the love in your eyes.
Before the EQ.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire. With the love in your eyes.
And I do this a lot when I'm working with heavy electronic elements because vocals are very soft and very clean. If we add just a touch of grit to them with that distortion,
set me on fire,
it will help them mix in a little better with the rest of the track. So I like to do just a little bit of that. I might ease it back as we go forward, depending on how I mix this. But that's there for right now. I'm going to do some delay here.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire. With the love in your eyes, I can see the sunrise coming alive. Dancing around your face, wish you would.
Just a touch of that, not too much. And then after that, of course, some reverb.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire. With the love in your eyes.
Crank it through a compressor a little bit. It's pretty much just acting as a limiter.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire. With the love in your eyes.
Keeps the vocal nice and loud.
Wish I could save my breath. I'm underwater, under the water. Set me on fire, you set me on fire. With the love in your eyes, I can see the sunrise coming alive. Dancing around your face, wish you would dance with me just one last time. Dancing in outer space, like the moon pulls the tide, it pulls the tide.
Okay, I don't think it's actually going to work out for one reason, and I think that is because And this is a male voice that is an octave lower than it would be if it was a female voice. If it was a female voice that was singing nice and high and we just had a high layer on top of everything else with the vocal, then that could work a little better. It could kind of work as just a really powerful lead. But in this situation, I think with it being a male voice and it being a little deeper, and it's a little hard to mix with these chords that are already very rich and thick in the mid to low regions. So I think I'm going to go with a lead instead. But I am definitely still going to use these vocals because I like them a lot. And I think what I can do for this lead is actually kind of mix the melodies that are being used here. So for this lead, I'm going to use Serum. And I think I'm going to start with this lead here. Which is lead Buzzsaw. This can be found in Serum Essentials Volume 2. And I think actually the first thing I want to do is add a little bit of vibrato to this. So I'm going to create this shape here, and I'm going to go LFO1 right here, and then change the global to master tune. And now I can make sure it's bipolar. And now I can move this up just one. So now this LFO1 is controlling the master tune. And now let's just change the speed to something good. But I'm going to make the auxiliary source the mod wheel. So now this mod wheel is going to control the level, right? I'm moving the mod wheel on my keyboard, but you can see in Serum the mod wheel is moving. And so now this should control the vibrato. Just like that. And I think I want to actually write this melody just in the chord pattern. So I'm going to take these, I'm going to merge the pattern clips, and now I'm going to just write it in this pattern, and then I'll move it to a separate pattern afterward, but I can just do it like this. And it's going to be a lot easier on me. So the first thing I want to do is I want to paste in the pattern of the bell. Because I feel like I am going to use that, and then I'm going to copy and paste in the pattern of this melody as well. Like this. Yeah, there it is. And this lead will slide around when you hit two notes at once, so I don't have to worry about them overlapping at all. As a matter of fact, it actually could probably make it sound cooler. Sounds pretty good. It sounds like it mixes together with the chords pretty well. Yeah, that's a good little melody to fill in that spot, and then I have to fill in this spot here as well. That sounds pretty good. And now what we have to do is duplicate it, and then we have to make some changes to make it interesting. And I think all that I have to do is just make changes to this last half, because this first half can repeat, and then it would just be a nice repetition, but then the variation can come in the last bit. That might be a good way to end it. It's a little bit of a high jump. Yeah, that's smooth. So this big lead is going through the sidechain. So now let's copy this and let's cut it, and then let's add this to a new track right here. There we go, there's the lead, and we can lay that right on top of there. I'm actually gonna start the first note of this down there, because it just blends together a little better with where the basses are coming from, and then you kind of slide up from the low notes to the high notes. It just sounds a little more natural. There's a little more of a natural transition there. And now the next thing to do would be to record the automation for the vibrato, which I have. There's just the mod wheel right here controlling the vibrato. I can do that with my MIDI keyboard with the mod wheel knob. So now let's go. All right, and there we go. You can see exactly the motions that I just did. If I go into this area down here, I can go this module. Yeah, now you can see exactly where I moved up and down with my mod wheel. And I'm actually layering it here with the music box to give it a little bit of extra texture. Actually, I might not layer it with the music box, but I will layer it with the synth that I used as a layer for the music box. Yeah, this guy right here. So let's copy and paste. And I'm actually going to use this stereo plugin to make it a little more mono. I don't want this lead quite as wide. And that's just from a mixing standpoint. The chords are really super wide, and if we have a really super wide lead to go with them, it kind of gets a little muddy, so I want to make sure this lead is just a little more mono. And just to add some dynamic, I want to go in and I want to make some chops to this bit right here. At the very end of this little riff. And I want to add just some gaps and some separation, so it sounds like this. Let me see. Yeah, like that. That's kind of cool. Maybe not the first hit, though. Like, the first hit can be fine. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Let me listen to that. Yeah, I like that a lot actually, so I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that. All right, so that's the second half of the drop done, and I think I'm going to go ahead and start working on the intro, and that's definitely where these vocals are going to come in.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire. With the love in your eyes, I can see the sunrise coming alive. Dancing around your face, wish you would dance with me just one last time. Dancing in outer space, like the moon pulls the tide, it pulls the tide. Your love is power, it's pulling me under. Wish I could save my breath. I'm underwater, under the water, with fire in my head, fire in my head. Your love is power, it's pulling me on.
Awesome, and I'll repeat this last bit like I just put down right there, and that's going to be the build-up, or at least maybe an intro to the build-up. And I think the first thing I can hint to, as far as like the intro with the drop, is the drum beat.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire. With the love in your eyes, I can see the sunrise.
And obviously I'm going to use different drum samples in this. This is just kind of an example that I'm throwing together. So we're going to have like an intro to the intro, and then we're going to have like a verse or two happening right here where we have a drum beat and it kind of breaks down. You're going to have some chords happening, and then it's going to go into an actual breakdown, right? And then that breakdown is going to rise up with these vocals. And then after that, we're going to have a quick 8-bar, like really hype riser to get hyped for the actual drop itself where there aren't any vocals happening. And then the drop is going to come, and then we can work with everything else afterward. So for these drums, I think I'm just going to grab from the Ultimate Producer Bundle exclusive drums. See, where are they? Yeah, they're here. There's a lot of good versatile drum samples in here. That's why I like to grab from it, but I'm just going to need a kick that's soft and small. That's actually a good one. Yeah, I'm just going to choose this kick number 1 and layer that right here because it's not a super strong kick. It's just a light kick, but it has some good bass frequencies and it has a good mid-range tone to it. So I'm just going to replace all the dubstep kicks with this one.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire. With the love in your eyes,
and now I have to pick a snare. Maybe this one?
Set me on fire, you set me on fire.
Or how about this one?
Set me on fire, you set me on fire. With the love in your eyes.
A little bit of reverb. Not much. So what I did here was I actually took another snare. That's more of like it has like a rim shot. This is from the natural snares section. And then I added it just before this snare. Like that, and I moved the pre-snare thing that we had going right here. So it adds a nice little flare before the snare. And I added that little rim shot before the first snares as well, but I just layered it right on beat. So you don't really hear it that much. That's just happening every other snare. Just to give it some pizzazz. But one thing I want to do is I need to make some chords, and I'm going to use a piano for this. So I'm going to take pattern 1, which is the chords, and I'm going to make it unique, and then I'm going to just apply these right to a piano. So let's bring up addictive keys, and I can get some good piano sound. I really like this one. So maybe I can use that one. I might change it though. And let's copy and then cut, because I just want to go like this. This isn't like possible for a person to play though, unless you're like, your hands are like huge, because this is like F3 to F6. So let's take out this bottom note here. Now that's a little more manageable. Yeah, it's tricky chords to play for a real person, but it is technically possible, I think, so I'm gonna go for it. I actually like this jazzish piano right here. It's kind of nice. The next thing to do is to kind of change up the velocities a little bit because they're all the same velocity and that's kind of boring. Let's go randomize and just set it to the velocities. Already that's sounding better. But we can add a little bit of strum as well, so it's not hitting exactly at the same time. Now it still does sound kind of robotic, but it's better for a song such as this. Like it's a lot better than it was before.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire. With the love in your eyes, I can...
Does need some reverb. A little bit of room. And now the next thing I want to do is I want to hint at this instrument. Just not the synth bit, I just want the music box bit. And I think I just want to do a little arp with it.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire. With the love in your eyes.
Yeah, like that. That's kind of nice. Gonna have to mix it in a little better though.
Dancing around your face.
Because it sounds good, but it's clashing with the vocal.
Dancing around your face. Wish you would dance with me just one last time. Set me on fire, you set me on fire.
Yeah, just turning down the velocities helps with that. So now I can cut that and I can add it to a new channel. And it should definitely build up in this area. So I'm going to make this unique, and then I'm going to just sort of build this up in volume. So a little bit in velocity. But I want to use a low pass filter. Yeah, filter cutoff frequency.
Set me on fire, you set me. Set me on fire, you set me on fire.
Okay, it's sounding good, but I think I want to change up this snare. The snare isn't vibing.
Set me on fire.
Needs a different snare. Maybe I can grab something from Future Bass Essentials from Ghosthack.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire with the love. Set me on fire, you set me on fire with the love in your eyes. I can see the sunrise coming alive.
It's a little better. Alright, so I actually did something here where I have this bell fading in. But once the vocals come in, it switches to this one. Which is actually the original Music Box preset from Flex. The other one was Music Box 2. So we have this and this. And I wanted to use that one because I felt like it was a little bit deeper and it clashed less with the vocal.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire with the love in your eyes. I can see the sunrise coming alive.
And I also added a little scratch clap in here because I wanted to get a clap instead of a snare. This is kind of how it goes when I'm building, especially drum loops, is it's constant trial and error, just trying out different samples, throwing together different things, figuring out exactly the vibe that I want to go for in this intro.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire. Set me on fire, you set me on fire with the love in your eyes. I can see the sunrise coming alive.
Yeah, I kind of enjoy a clap more than a snare in this scenario. If I go into Quantum Force Volume 2 from Ghosthack, I can pick some hits out here and layer them with the kick. So this just adds some more layers to these kicks. Makes them a little more interesting.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire.
I also want to make the piano a little more interesting. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Not in the intro though. Let me make this unique and let me make the intro piano a little less chaotic. So I added the drum loop from the drop.
On your face, wish you would dance with me just one last time.
But I think I can kind of affect this a little bit more. Maybe I can telephone it.
Dancing in outer space, like the moon pulls the tide, it pulls the tide.
Yeah, this is my little telephone plugin that I made in Patcher. If you want to see me actually make this plugin, there's a video of me making this plugin on the Ghosthack YouTube page. And when I say plugin, it is just a Patcher preset. It's not a plugin, but it's sort of about how you can design your own plugins. At least the video is, so that's kind of how I present it. And I never recolored everything to look pretty, but it doesn't really matter because it still gets the job done. So I can go in here and I can use this knob as like the telephone knob. The telephone's all the way up. top. Then I'm going to slowly bring it down so it's not telephoned at the end, and that's going to be how that goes.
Dancing in outer space, like the moon pulls the tide, it pulls the tide.
Now I thought about putting that telephone little patcher preset thing on the piano in the intro, but I thought, why don't I just put it on the master? That's going to be a hell of a lot easier for me. I can just bring this slider down so no reverb, and then we can create an automation clip for the telephone knob. That all works out pretty well for me. Now I have a problem with the vocals and the piano right here. It doesn't exactly work.
Wish I could save my breath. I'm underwater, under the water, with fire in my head.
So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to make this unique right here, and I'm just going to create a little bit of a new piano progression for this part. It's going to be almost the same, just to edit it a little bit so it works. Okay, so I made the little changes that I needed to make, and this should work here as well if we transition. Wish I could save my breath. I'm underwater, under the water, with fire in my head. Your love is power, it's pulling me under. And I really want to bring in strings here as well. So now let me get some strings from Flex. The cellos sound really nice. They're just nice and calm and relaxing. I could save my breath. I'm underwater, under the water, with fire in my head. I'm gonna make this one unique here, so it doesn't have the little violin parts up top, or cello parts up top. I'm also gonna make this unique because I want to just turn down this volume a little bit. It's a little loud. It pulls the tide. Your love is power, it's pulling me under, with fire in my head. This is gonna turn out really good. But right now we need some sound effects because this is kind of bare and bland and there isn't too much happening right here. So I'm gonna go into the Platinum Producer bundle and take an impact. This one right here is just a nice generic impact that could work out pretty well. Yeah, and then we need just a little down sweep. That's a fun little sample. Let me take this one and kind of just mix it in. And then I just need something to kind of rise up a little bit. I kind of like that bubble riser, so I'm just going to take part of this. I'm going to turn it down because it's very loud. I'm just going to use this bit. And then like a reverse cymbal or something like that. Let me take a crash from the drop and reverse it. Yeah, sub drop right here would be awesome. So let me take this one, let me fade it out a little bit, turn it down. Sounds great. And then I need a clap, like a more clappy impact, to go right here. Oh, I forgot to put any kind of bass in this intro. Dancing around your face, wish you would dance with
with me just one last time. Dancing.
I gotta put some kind of bass here. I kind of like this one right here, which is just a really stock sort of basic bass FL Studio default thing. But I feel like I can use it. It could work out good in the background.
Dancing around your face. Wish you would dance with me just.
It kind of fills up that region pretty well.
Wish you would dance with me just one last time.
No. Please load. Oh God. How many more years till retirement?
Bruh.
I did save along the way though. It isn't like this isn't saved at all. What if I just revert to last backup? How much is saved there? Oh God, nothing's saved here. I have to go back to my actual project that I saved. Okay, there we are. Now that's actually something. Didn't save the baseline, but that's okay. It wasn't too hard to create. Okay, so I have a new baseline rewritten. I don't think it was exactly the same as last time, but that's okay. I like it.
Dancing around your face. Wish you would dance with me just one last time. Dancing in outer space. Like the moon pulls the tide, it pulls the tide. Wish I could save my breath. I'm in the water, under the water.
Okay, at this point right here, I really need to hint these chords. So I'm gonna definitely take pattern 1 here and I'm going to make it unique. And the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that the chords kind of work with these piano chords, because remember, these piano chords are slightly different. I'm gonna delete the layers here, because we don't really need those. And I'll delete the clean layer as well. Maybe we can just use the detuned layer. And now, since I pasted the piano chords in this pattern as well, you can clearly see where everything's off.
Your love is power. Your love is power. Pulling me under. Wish I could save my breath. I'm in the water, under the water, with fire in my head.
Yeah, now let's just make sure to fade these chords, like to make sure they're not super powerful.
Your love is power. Pulling me under.
And the easiest way to do that is probably with the telephone little preset thing here in Patcher that I've used a couple of times already.
Your love is power. It's pulling me under.
Yeah, that looks better. I kind of edited it so the low pass filter goes a little deeper.
Your love is power. It's pulling me under.
I like that a little better. So let's activate and create an automation clip right here.
Your love is power. It's pulling me under. Wish I could save my breath. I'm in the water.
And what I'm going to do is add another EQ just to the end of this to make it a little less strong, because it still is a little harsh.
With fire in my head. Your love.
And I'm just going to create an automation clip for this Patcher preset, like just all together. So it's definitely going to be up, but then when the drop hits, it'll come down. I think I'm going to have a shorter space for a fill before this drop happens. And comes in like that. I want to just have something smaller, like a drum fill or something like that. So the next thing to do would just be to start working on this build up, which I can use the drums from the intro to kind of make some build up drums. I can use the clap. I can do some weird offsets with the snares and the claps. Faster claps. And then even faster. This is the benefit of using like 2 different drums, like layering together when you're doing these build-up drums, is you can make it sound a little less stagnant by just doing things at different speeds, until it gets to this part where I want them all to be like super fast. So now I'm going to take the pattern 2, which is these chords that we just created right here, that sound like this. And I'm going to take pattern 2 and I'm going to make it unique, and I'm going to revert it back to how the chords were before. So we get this progression in here rather than the other progression, and then it's going to fade out. So it's actually going to go something like this. It's going to kind of fade out before the drop hits. Yeah, so now we get a taste of that minor. But something has to be done about these, because they just get a little too big right here. And the easiest way I think I could do that would just be to use this high pass filter. Just like that. So it was about right there, so we can just create an automation clip for this. So there's our little automation clip, and it slides up here, so it kind of cuts out all the reverb. So the next thing to do would just be to add some more risers in here to build up the tension. And let's see where I can get some risers. This right here was from a sound effects freebie, and I can probably utilize this. What if I really stretch this out? Like I just stretched it out way too far. That's a nice background riser, at least to me. This one kind of has a BPM. It's got little bird tweets in the background. There is one thing I'm going to do though, is I'm going to create some kind of riser, and it's going to be a really, really simple riser. It's going to be just a sine wave riser. So I'm going to take Citrus. Where are you, Citrus? There you are. Just a normal sine wave, boring as hell. And then I'm going to just create a riser. Let's see, we're in D sharp. So I'm going to go down to here. I'm going to lay down a note, and then I'm going to lay down a note here, but I want this note to be a slide note. So we just get slowly rising. That's extra slow. I don't want it quite that slow. Let me make it about here. Yeah, that's a little more respectable. And what I can do is I can make this have like no volume, or at least very low. And then as it slides up to this one, the volume will grow with it. This is just going to be in the background. This is just so subtle. You barely really comprehend this. Oh, and I forgot I have to shorten this to about there. And then since we're in here, we might as well add like a little bit of unison. Just to help it blend in a little better. And then the last thing I want to do for the rise is I want to take these basses and I want to use them in the rise. That sounds so good, but I have to resample those and make them sound not quite that good. So let's get Edison and let's just record this little loop. And now that we have this loop, we can drag it right into here, and we can make it build up worthy, make it a little less powerful, and then definitely take down this sub. Yeah, I can start it about there. So I will create this automation clip, and also I'll make this kind of mono, like not super stereo wide. And then hopefully this will still hit just as hard. I want to take out the last note. Because there is a lot of sort of mid frequencies in here that I think there's just a little too much mid frequencies. And I can have this hit twice. Just like that. Well, this would be a good addition to the build-up. Yeah, I like that. So obviously we have to make this much less strong. So I'm going to do exactly what I did with the basses, and I'm just going to record it out. And now I can drag it down here and I can delete this pattern. Let's save again. I really don't want another crash. And you already know we're just gonna do a low pass filter right here. Probably starting about right there. Oh, what if I use this tail? That little bit right there, and I reversed it and I turned it into like it sort of like sucked into the drop. If I can make this unique, and then let me just go in here and reverse, and then we're obviously gonna have to find the spot again. I kind of like that. All right, so now I just have to figure out what exactly I want to do for this little area right here. Oh, I like that. This is just a little drum fill from a pack that is not yet released, but it will be soon. Oh, that sounds good. Because it's nice, it's tight, it's good, it's fast, but it isn't like super heavy and overpowering. So one more thing I want to add to the build up actually before I move on to the rest of the track is just this vocal right here. Fire in my head, want to make a chop right there. And I want to use this chop in the build up. I don't want to actually do that much with it, and I want it to fade out pretty quickly, but it's just kind of jarring for the vocals to end right there. What I want to do is I want to make it unique. And then pitch it down. Just like that. And then I'm just gonna have it fade out pretty quickly. I'm just going to use this modulation X right here for the cutoff. All right, so now we have the little intro, the verses, we have the breakdown, we have the build up, and then we have drop A and drop B. And let me tell you right now, that is 90% of everything we'll have to do in this track. For me, at least most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, and definitely in this situation, I'm going to use the elements that I already have to kind of construct the rest of the track. Now, normally I would, if I was going to release this song under my own alias, I would create a different second drop that has some things that are different to it. You know, I'd switch up the basses, I'd change it up, maybe I'd make it a little more dubsteppy, less melodic. I'd do something like that. But for the purposes of this video, which is going from drop to track, I am just going to use the same drop, and then you could take creative license for that second drop if you wished. So now I can really break this up into sections, right? I can really chop this up and say, okay, I know exactly what I want where. I definitely know that I want the build up to happen again. So I'm just going to take everything that's in the build up and I'm going to copy it over here. I love these strings. I kind of want to keep these strings right here. And then we can have the piano that goes along with it. And keep in mind, this is the major version of the progression right here. So it goes from, you know, deeper minor to a more major, more uplifting version. Well, they're both minor, but I just want to be clear. This one isn't in major key, but it sounds more major, like there are more major notes used in it. And this is a good way to break it down. Where's like an impact or something like that? Because I don't necessarily want a kick. I want this impact. Yeah, then we can take the clappy one too. Yeah, maybe not that one. Maybe I just want the kick like from the intro. That would be good. And then it would go right back into the verse.
Set me on fire.
We are still gonna make some changes though.
Set me on fire. You set me on fire.
Can I get like a little tom? Boom. Yeah, just a tiny little tom. That works out pretty well.
Set me on fire. You set me on fire.
And I think I want to scoot these vocals over a little bit. I want them to start right here.
Dancing around your face. Wish you would dance with me just one last time.
Nah, never mind. That actually didn't end up working out as well as I thought it would. I'm going to go back to the original bit right here. I'm actually going to skip that verse now that I play it. It's not that it's bad at all. It's just that I just need to get to this one on this part.
Your love is power. It's pulling me under. Wish I could save my breath.
I like that little tom. Yeah, now I really want the hats to come in a little stronger. So I'm going to make this unique. Actually, no, I'm not going to make it unique. I'm just going to take a different hat. Yeah, I'm in unique drums 2 already. Let me just grab a hat from here. Obviously, these hats are kind of weird. But I can take this one. And let me just pitch it up. Actually, no, I want this one. It's just a little smaller. And then I can just fade it out, and the other hat loop fades in right there. Okay, so we need a little more of a riser right there, so I'm going to throw this in. Alright, and then it goes right into the second drop, and for the outro, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to end on a piano. I'm going to make this unique, and I'm going to copy this pattern right here, this little melody pattern that we had. So I go into 6, I can paste that, and can I do this just an octave up? That would be cool. I don't think I can do it an octave up. So it looks like I'll have to get rid of these bottom notes where these notes are hitting. And I really just want it to slow down from there. And I don't want these chords to happen. I want it to just end after this because it would sound weird if it ended on those chords. Yeah, I want it to be something like that, and then these can kind of trail off. But the key to this is that we're going to slow it down. So it's going to start here, and then I'm going to create an automation clip for the actual tempo. Real quick, let me save. So I create an automation clip for the tempo. This is the tempo. I'm going to bring it down here to a track that's locked. And then I'm going to just slowly bring down the tempo. And then it starts to fall about here. And after just over 4 hours, we have gone from a melodic dubstep drop into a melodic dubstep track. Now, I know the ones for rhythm and hybrid trap, they didn't take quite this long to make the thing. And the reason for this is when you're working with melodic content such as chords and melodies, and you're really having to pay attention to the progression and things like that, and you have verses and you're dealing with vocals and that kind of thing, it does take a little bit longer to do these kinds of tracks. When I was working on, say, like the rhythm one, for example, I didn't really get that complex with the melodies and stuff. It was mostly just sound effects and atmosphere. You know, it wasn't a very complicated intro and bridge and things like that. It was pretty simple and straightforward, whereas this one is a little more complex. It has more layers. There's more melodic content to deal with. So you got to kind of expect that when you're looking to make tracks of this kind. But I feel like I went pretty in depth into a lot of things, and I'm pretty happy with this result. So let me go ahead and play you the final result of our work.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire. With the love in your eyes, I can see the sunrise coming alive. Dancing around your face, wish you would dance with me just one last time. Dancing in outer space, like the moon pulls the tide, it pulls the tide. Your love is power, it's pulling me under. Wish I could save my breath. I'm underwater, under the water, with fire in my head. Your love is power, it's pulling me under. Wish I could save my breath. I'm underwater, under the water, with fire in my head. On fire, you set me on fire. With the love in your eyes, I can see the sunrise coming alive. Your love is power, it's pulling me under. Wish I could save my breath. I'm underwater, under the water, with fire in my head.
So there we have it, a melodic dubstep song out of a melodic dubstep drop. Who would have thunk it? In all seriousness though, I actually had a lot of fun making this. This was a really fun track to work on. Melodic dubstep is a ton of fun. And I know if I was releasing this track like under my own alias, you know, I could spend days on this. You know, I could go into the second drop especially and make a bunch of changes. I could perfect the mixing. I could make the pre-drop a little more interesting than just a drum fill. I could go in and perfect the transitions. There's tons more I could do to this. But for the time that it took to put this together, I'm not disappointed in it at all. Like if I heard this as a track on SoundCloud, I wouldn't be shocked, or like I wouldn't feel like something's missing or lacking. And that was kind of the important part of this tutorial, to show you guys how it would go about going from drop to track for something more melodic, maybe something a little less dark and aggressive, maybe just something melodic and aggressive. And I know this was an extra long video today, but for all of you guys that stuck with me to the end, I really appreciate you. You are the best, and I will see you in the next video. Happy producing.